All right, check, check, radio check. Want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this week. Thanks for being on here. If you're out there in stream world, in the comforts of your office or cubicle, and you've taken time out of your busy schedule to join us, I appreciate it. And hopefully we will continue to bring you value and education as we go through it. So, today's topic is going to be on a tool that we use. It's actually a suite of tools and calculators. And, I am, in fact, a master mentor with the MoneyTrax Circle of Wealth system. Have used it for probably about a decade now. And it's got a lot of great conversations that I like to share with clients. And last week we were going to take you back through some of those 4 questions that you need to ask to make sure you're on course for retirement. And then we'll take you through the tool itself and get a high level understanding of where somebody might be at. And if you want to utilize this tool, and I use this in conjunction with another tool that maybe a lot of you are familiar with, the Retirement Analyzer. So, I just want, without further ado, I'm going to ask this question. And I think the emails that we sent out, we said, most people will plan more for a 2-week vacation than they ever will for their retirement. And I found that in my career to be true. So here's one of the questions that I would ask, and if what is one of the first items you need if you were to take a road trip cross country? And I'll be quiet for a moment, and if somebody would mind taking a stab at maybe what they think the answer might be, and put it in chat. I won't say who put it in there. You can send it to me directly. I'll give you about 5 seconds audience participation. So somebody put something in. Let's see what they said. A map. Very good. Shoes. Very good. All right, so I like a map, right? So if we're going to go to California, and we're going to drive cross country, I've never done it yet. It is on my bucket list, but if I were to do that, one of the first things I would do is pick up a map, right? And you can GPS it, right? And you say, hey, everything's good. But, the old way of doing things is that fold out map that we used to get at gas stations. So, and the reason that's so important is because if we don't plan where we're going to stop, if we don't plan what the cost is to get there, we could end up way off course. We could end up in Florida unintentionally, or Texas, or Canada for that matter, Mexico, right? So all these things, depending on where we want to go, one of the sort of battle cries that we at Professional Planning Services share: plan with the end in mind. So when we're looking at retirement planning, right, it makes sense then, logic would dictate that a roadmap for retirement should be done first. And again, when we're forecasting, and this is where financial planning and why doing it yourself, a lot of the tools that we have access to online are sort of either, I won't say they're incomplete, right? There's a lot of holes in them. I think a lot of assumptions that are made are too generous. And I think we need to have a little bit more detail, right? As we look into the future and what will change and how will expenses change and where will we live and what will taxes be like? And all of these things I think are important. So what I'm going to do now is stop the PowerPoint and actually do a live presentation of the Circle of Wealth system. And then this I did last week were the questions, but I had it on a slide. I'm not going to take us through this conversation. If you want to watch the video, you can do so. But the 4 questions is: do you know the rate of return you need to earn on your savings and investments in order to be able to live in the future like you live today? So that's the rate of return question. Then, do you know the amount you need to save? Do you know how much you need to be saving on a monthly or annual basis to accumulate enough money by your retirement to live at the same standard of living you're enjoying today? And then when to retire. So do you know how long you will need to work before you can retire and have enough money to live until your life expectancy? And then ultimately, retirement lifestyle. Do you know how much you will need to reduce your future standard of living if you don't do something different than you're doing today? So these questions are the 4 questions I asked last week. I went through it and I said, hey, join us back this week as I go through it. So I'm going to take us through. I built out so that I didn't spend the whole presentation doing data entry, but I do think it's important that everybody understands some of the data that I put in and how I came to it. So we're going to term this couple happy couple. We're going to make some assumptions. Now, inflation rate, this is one of the assumptions that, a lot of people, inflation, for years, I would talk to people about inflation. What do we use? How much do we do? So we had the ability with this calculator, wherever you're born, right? So I used for this client, I said, hey, they were 46 years old. So 1978 until now, 2023, that's 3.6. I'm using that result. We can use whatever year you're born, or we can use a since history, 20-year average. There's flexibility here, but inflation, just think of it like this. Would you agree that things cost more today than they did 5 years ago? Gas, milk, bread, right? And that's how I sort of relate to it. And so whether we're using 2%, 3%, 4%, right? It hasn't reared its head because we've been in a low interest rate environment, but it really should be part of our overall planning. Also, what is our actual tax rate, right? So part of what we have to look at is how much is this income are they earning? 200,000, and right now a standardized deduction, your taxable income, I can calculate based on the state 14.2%, 14.26% is the tax rate. But now this is where people get confused because, well, marginal tax rate. Remember, we have that graduated cylinder, 22, 24, then it goes 32, 34, then, highest is 37, and then we're going to have a sunset back in or in 1/1 of 2026. I can use this result, and this is what I've done here. So you understand that in my model, I'm using the 14.26% tax rate. Use that as the distribution rate on qualified plans, and then capital gains tax rate. So I can put all this stuff in. Now, when I'm looking for a rate of return, I can use different indices. I just use the S&P, which is equities total return, right? So I did that there. And then I went in and I started to put in Mr. Happy client was 46. He wants to retire at 67. What's interesting is life expectancy. So depending on how old somebody is, and a lot of models will allow us to, like Social Security will take us out to age 100. So we've talked about that, maybe you have family history where nobody in your family makes it past 75, but maybe you have family history where, you have centurions in your family and maybe you don't know, right? So what we do here is I use joint, right? For both of them, 46 and 46, and I use that calculate. So it says 46.2 to your age 92. So when you see life expectancy, that's how we came up with it and use those results. Same with the spouse. And then children, I said, hey, is one going to college? I go, college costs what? At 16 years old. They have a child right now. And then the child number 2, 14 years old, military, here I come. I just put that in whether they both go to college or not. So that was tab 1. Tab 2 is what are they earning? I kept it simple that one's working for a pharma ABC company, and this is current age, CA, and ends at retirement age. And I can go through and edit that. So, you can just see real quickly, I did say that they were going to inflate their income by 2%, and they're not taking any deductible. It's 100% taxable, and we can talk about those things as well. So I hit save there, and then I did the same thing for, Mrs. Happy, right? So she's a school teacher, spouse, 100,000, inflating at 2%, tax at 100%, current age, retirement age, save. Now, both of them will get Social Security, and I just said, hey, 3,000 a month, 36,000 annual, starting at retirement age, so full retirement age 67, and going to life expectancy. But the thing I want you to see here is a lot of people aren't aware of that Social Security, depending on your income in retirement, is taxable. Up to currently, under current tax law, 85% of your Social Security could be taxable. So I've done that for both him and her, right? And they're both getting the same, and they're both gonna, roughly started at 67 full retirement age. So that's tab 2. And that's this tank here. So, again, the reason I like Circle Wealth, it sort of fits my personality, my background. I'm a Navy vet, and I went into the Navy to be, a lot of you may know, with Navy SEAL. My eyes prohibited me from participating in the SEALs, but my background in the military is mechanical engineering. I was a welder, pipe fitter, damage controlman, fireman, right? I did all of these things. And so valves and pipes and tanks come very naturally to me. Now, one of the things I want you to see here is this remaining income potential. 7 million 400, so roughly $7.5 million is how much their remaining income till life expectancy. This is the amount of money that's going to come to you and through you during your lifetime. And notice that there's this pipe at the top that drops it right into this investment tank. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now, what I wanted you to see here is that at some point in time, and I'll do this at the end, income goes away, except for Social Security, and that's there, and I'll show you that. And whatever we've amassed, that's all that's there for the rest of our lives. So when you hear me say that retirement is like living on unemployment for 20 or 30 years, that's how I envision, and why I have to have these conversations with clients to help them to really understand the impact of investing, not risking overly, being overly ambitious or overly exposed to risk in the markets. Now, you see here, I have in here qualified plan contributions, 33,000 up here, and then risk contributions, 12,000. We're going to get into that, but it's easier if I just do it under tab 3. So 401k, this was Mr. Happy. And I can go in and I don't ever, when a client is coming in and I say, hey, what are you getting on your rate of return for your investments? I'm not going to argue with you. It's if you're getting 10 or 12, you're investing in Bitcoin or some alternative investment and you're comfortable with that, I'll use whatever numbers you want me to use. I just want you to understand what's here is that there's $200,000 in this account. Its risk is high because they're in equities. 8% is the rate of return that I use in this example. Typically 401ks are 2.5% for annual fees. Annual contributions this year for 2024, 23,000. He's under age 50, so that's the max he could do. But the company was matching dollar for dollar up to 6%. That will go from current age to retirement age, right? So that's Mr. Happy. Mrs. Happy, school teacher, 100,000, also is investing in a 403b, which had some mutual funds and options. She felt like, hey, listen, 6%, I'm comfortable. Same 2% fees are in there, but she's only putting away 10,000, but her municipality or district matches dollar for dollar, 6,000 as well. So they're very similar in design. Brokerage account, they've saved some money and they felt like, hey, listen, you know what, we got some hot tips and we're looking at a lot of the tech sector and we think we can get 10%. Okay, I'm never going to argue with somebody. Ordinary income, that is all taxed, ordinary. And then the fee on here, typically brokerage accounts are about 1.5%. So you got 30,000 is what the current value, but cost basis is 20%. That will help the portion that is taxed at capital gains, and they're putting in about $2,000 a year into that. So again, this is just how I broke it out. They do have some children going into college, so they had started a 529. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's the right place or not, I'm not here to debate what somebody's already doing. Many people are doing 529s. There are pros to and cons with using some type of college savings plans. But if you had 40 grand, it's typically when they're younger, you have more risk exposure and they're supposed to dial back the risk as you get closer to college. Typically they have low fees, about 0.5%, and I'll use 6% for now. And then they're putting on 10,000, but notice that they're only current age until a specified age of 48, because 2 years till she's going to college, and then they're going to have to redirect whatever they haven't saved towards the college itself. So that's why I did it there. And then savings, right? They have checking. There was 20,000 total rate of return, whatever. I can make that, they're getting 4% right now. Wasn't sorry about that. Wasn't and I just hit save 4%. And are they doing anything monthly? Nope. That's just sort of their float. And then oh, it was a checking account, so maybe it's not getting 4%. Let me change that back. I thought that was a savings account. So we'll say the checking account is getting 0. And I can do this on the fly. And if you want something like this done, just reach out to my office. There's no cost for me to run this, and you can get an idea. So you got current, you got retirement, and then for here, their savings, they were getting 4%, and I'm inflating that 4% as well for inflationary rate. All right, so there's their accumulations. I hit OK, and that is everything that's going into here. But because of the type of environment, so notice that 2 of these were low risk and 4 of these were high risk, right? And I should put access there, but that's fine. And all I'm saying here is that this tank here, notice that this 401k has some red in it. That's the tax obligations that is owed on that for this year. And the same with the 403b. There's some taxation on the 529 or on the brokerage account and the 529 if used directly to pay for college is tax free. So I can account for the taxation of the amount of the accounts. And then savings accounts are a little bit different. So, as we go through this, our inflow is 200,000. And then we have our spendable income 176, but our net after tax is 167 based on our current tax environment. So they paid out 23,000. That's this little valve at the bottom. This is a leak in the bucket. This is going to the government. And so as I look at this, I just say, hey, listen, at some point in time, we're going to have to spend this down. Lastly is the house. All I did for the house, it's really high level. What's your loan payment? 2,800. This is their mortgage rate. So I tell them, hey, listen, you don't want to hurry to a whooping. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. I said, hey, when did you take out your mortgage? And they said 2 years ago. And they're a young couple, right? So they're 28. And they said 2 years ago. I said, okay. And I said, what's your interest rate? They said it's like 2 3/4. I said, I know it is going to be your instinct to send in extra principal payments to that mortgage. But what you secured right there is cheap money. You're never going to see that cheap of money again at 2 3/4. I said, so every time if you pay that house off because you want to accelerate it, I said, you've just hurried to a whooping, right? So I suggest that's what we call managed debt. So I'm okay with debt as long as we understand it and how it fits into our overall picture. So that was that component. And then once the house is paid off, I can take it away, right? This is just, if I had some other debts or obligations, second residence, I could have put that. So I'll take this off. And then I have college in here if the second one decides to go in. And I know a lot of people, this is probably on the low side, 60,000, 65,000, but this is what we're putting into our model. And then ultimately, I'm including everything. Desired lifestyle is 97,802, 801, right? So what I want you to see is that the expenses, 33,600 at the bottom here. So I'm going to blow this up. 33,600 is really the mortgage. 2,800 times 12 is 33,600. So basically lifestyle. And what we're saying is, do you want to live in the future today, right, on the same amount of money that you're earning right now? And most people would say yes. And I tend to be in that camp, right? You'll hear a lot of people go, well, when you retire, you won't have a mortgage. You can live on 20% less. Listen, even if you could, why would you want to? All I'm trying to show you is that when we start to step this out into the future, this is one of the reasons why I like this calculator. I'm going to start to say 1 year, 46 over here. I'm going to take it to 47. Things are starting to happen here. I'm starting to spend down. I'm still saving money. The account's growing. The house is getting paid off. Everything's now. College has happened, and the house is paid off. So here I am at 56. This house is all paid off. I still got my income coming in. I got $1 million in my 401k and 403bs, and I'm 56, right? I want you to see my expenses are 84,000. That's because of college and all the things that are in there. And then as I progress and I start to get to retirement, so now I'm 60, my sweep account's picking up my excess cash flow. I just want you to see that at age 67, right here, notice what happened. My income shut off except for Social Security. And that's all I got. So this is why it's so important that right now in this example, these clients have saved $2.6 million in an account, plus whatever they have in their sweep account, another $250,000 that they have to live on for the rest of their life. I also want you to see this lifestyle number, $205,000. That's in the future, inflation, using the inflation that I showed you, that's the same buying power today, 97,801. So as I switch that back, all I'm saying is as I progress through time, right? What happens to my accounts? Will I make it? You know, when I'm polling audiences and I say, who here is afraid of running out of money in retirement, right? It's almost 100% unanimous hands being raised. So as I start to step through this and they're starting to maintain lifestyle, that same buying power, 71, hey, everything's good at 73, 74, 75, but they're starting to tap into that 401k. Uh-oh, now I only got 2 million. Uh-oh, now I'm 80. I'm 1.3. We should be okay, right, honey? All right, 81, 82, 83, 84. Uh-oh, I didn't make it to life expectancy, and my tank is now empty. And this is the point. Notice that this green pipe valve is now only partially green. And that's what I hope people start to take away from this, is that with a little bit of planning, we can start to help reduce the risk of running out of money. And when I do retirement analyzer, that might show up as a red line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us over to the last part of the equation, which are the 4 questions, right? I'm going to take us to year 1. And we're going to say, hey, listen, if we know we're going to run out of money, what would be the rate of return I need to run to be able to calculate, to be able to maintain the standard of living that I want? And it's calculating right now. I got to now jump from 7.5% to 9% every year, year after year, to be able to hit my goals, right? To reduce that red line or keep that pipe full. All right. All right. So what's the other question? All right. Suppose I need to save more. How much do I need to save? Well, let's calculate the savings to make it to life expectancy, not even age 100. Remember, 92, suppose you lived to 93, 94, 95. I don't know, long-term care. We're going to talk about that. Well, now it's $60,000 a year that you should be saving until age 67. And that's a lot of people. That's a second job, or that's a lot of money. That's a second job. How about working longer? You want to retire at 67, but you know what? Let's go ahead and calculate that to make it to age 92. Now you have to work until age, and I know the answer, but I'm going to wait for it to come up, age 73. Oh, wow, that wasn't what I was planning. And then lastly, how about that spend less? I want to live on less in retirement. So calculate that. How much more or how much less would I have to? That's a 21% reduction in lifestyle right now. So imagine if you were to say, hey, listen, I'm going to cut my living expenses by 20%. How comfortable would you be here in New Jersey? So that's what I wanted to show you that this tool can do. And the last thing I want to show, and we're going to touch base on this next week, right, are different scenarios that can turn around. And let's see, I thought I had it, maybe present position, and I wanted to bring up, no, it wasn't that. Sorry. I had to find that. Let's go back to all the way to the beginning and now come back to there. So select an event. I'm not going to go through every event. I am going to talk about this one here right now. Disability. If one of the breadwinners goes out on disability at 46 years old, it's the most valuable asset that somebody could possibly have. Client goes out on disability and we'll say, you know, had a bad day, got hit by a bus. Now apply. And now what happens is we lose that income immediately. Well, that will affect everything. So securing benefits and protecting our income, that's one of the primary conversations we're going to be promoting while we're working. And then the other area that I absolutely stress, and a lot of you know that I'm passionate about, and I'm not going to show this example, but long-term care. right? What happens if one of us needs it? What asset are we going to use first to pay for? These are the things that as planning, going back to that roadmap, talking about this stuff that we need to talk about. So last thing, I want to just take us through two more slides. That's my presentation. Let's just go here. Let's see if I got that. And we'll come back up to here. Why is this not? Oh, there we go. Here. All right. So my PowerPoint here, you should still be able to see it. I have Social Security events coming up at Rutgers at the business school. That's the North building. We'll be in the South building. April 20th at 9 a.m. and April 27th at 9 a.m. So it'll be Saturdays. If you know anybody that is approaching retirement, you're 62, 63, 64, you're thinking about, you're uncertain when to claim Social Security. It's such an important component of our retirement plan as we go forward, that we need to make sure that we get it right. So I just wanted to share with you that's coming up. Hopefully, I know I went a little long than I normally do, but I do like to keep it to 30 minutes. Last thing is, this is our disclaimers. Again, if you want to see what it would look like, send me an email, chris@professionalplanningservices.com. Happy to hop on a call with you and go through those 4 questions